Hey guys, my name is Batimio, and about a week ago, one of you guys sent me a YouTube message, basically challenged me to try out a weapon loadout you thought would be terrible, and that weapon loadout is the Famas with the rifle scope attachment, the bipod, and the silencer, and I don't know why at the time I thought it would be fun. It was fun, don't get me wrong, it was definitely very interesting trying out this particular loadout, but it's a pretty terrible setup. So I'm going to kind of go into detail as to why. You guys already probably know why, but I just thought this would be a kind of fun video to talk about and kind of explain the Famas and why it's kind of a crappy weapon. So a lot of you guys probably remember the Famas was one of the flavor of the month's weapons out there. Everyone used it when the Strike at Karkin expansion pack first was released. It had a great RPM, it was very accurate at long range, and it was overall just an extremely powerful gun. DICE decided that that was a bad idea for a weapon to be that powerful. I agreed with them at the time, and then they kind of nerfed it into oblivion, and now it's to the point where it's a fun weapon to use every once in a while. A lot of you guys probably remember the iron sights when you were trying to unlock some of its attachments, but it's definitely not one of the better assault rifles out of there. The first reason being is it does have an amazing rounds per minute. It has an RPM of 1,000, which is awesome. It's the highest out of the assault rifles, but it only has 26 rounds in its magazine, so you are going to fly through your ammunition extremely fast, and trying to manage that and make sure that you are getting the fastest reload time possible so you have a bolt in the chamber before you reload is a challenge. Not only that, but because your RPM is just so crazy, trying to chain kills is also very difficult. One of the benefits of having a slower RPM weapon is that you can use your ammunition a lot more efficiently. You can go from target to target, but with a really fast RPM with the Famas, that's a lot harder to do. Speaking of its reload time, I believe it has the slowest out of all of the assault rifles in the game. It's going to take you 3.05 seconds if you have a bolt in the chamber, but if you've gone through all of your ammunition, it's going to take you a staggering 3.9 seconds. That's almost 4 seconds to go through the entire animation, and when you're on the front lines, when basically what you're supposed to do with this weapon, since it is a close encounter weapon, that feels like an eternity. To put this in perspective, the M416, which was buffed in the most recent patch, it takes 2.5 seconds for its long reload time. So if you've gone through all of your ammunition for the M416, it's going to take you 2.5 seconds, which is faster than the short reload time of the Famas. I mean, the Famas's reload time is just terrible. And if DICE could do one thing to make this weapon more viable, in my opinion, it would be to reduce it just a little bit to make it more in line with the other guns. Another terrible aspect of the Famas, it would have to be its recoil. It's got a crazy amount of horizontal recoil. It's got a 0.6 off to the right and a 0.35 off to the left. Its vertical recoil isn't all that bad, and it's probably more in line with all the other assault rifles out there, but its horizontal is just abysmal, and if you're not using the foregrip, which I wasn't here, it definitely made for some very interesting matches, or when I was pitted against other players, I felt like I was just kind of hoping that I was lining up my shots because of the recoil was just that terrible. So now that you guys have a basic understanding of why this weapon is pretty much terrible by itself, I decided to make it even worse with this challenge by slapping on the rifle scope, the bipod attachment, and the suppressor. The rifle scope should pretty much be a no-brainer as to why it makes this loadout even worse. The rifle scope is meant for long-range combat, and the Famas is truly meant for close encounter engagements. Trying to go for long-range engagements with such a crazy recoil is not impossible by any means, but it's definitely very challenging to line up a shot and stay on target. And so with the Famas, you're going to want to stay up close and personal so you really don't have to deal with the recoil as often, and with a high optic scope, that's going to be a little bit more challenging to line up those shots. So the rifle scope just by itself just does not suit the Famas. I also had to use the suppressor, and normally the suppressor is fantastic with the Famas because it is a close encounter attachment, but in combination with the rifle scope, it's a complete contradiction. The rifle scope is good for long range, and it's harder for me to line up shots up close, while the suppressor reduces my long range or medium range effectiveness and makes me less effective for those engagements. So it's a contradiction just in that regard. Not only that, but it also is going to reduce my hipfire accuracy because it's got more weight at the end of the barrel. My hipfire accuracy is going to be larger, there's going to be more bullet spread, and I'm just not going to be as effective. So I thought, while it does keep me off the mini-map, I thought that because it is a complete contradiction to the rifle scope, I thought it was appropriate, and it definitely was a hindrance for this loadout. As as for the bipod, it really didn't have any negative aspect associated with it. Every once in a while, I could place it down and try to snipe people for, from across the map. It really wasn't all that effective with the Famas. It still had a fair amount of kick to it, but really the main detriment for using it was that I didn't have access to the foregrip. And in my opinion, the foregrip on the Famas is pretty much essential if you want to actually play with this competitively or just want to do well. As you guys can see in the video here, because I wasn't using the foregrip, my recoil was just all over the place. I was having a very hard time lining up shot at medium to long range, and it was just an absolute mess. It was pretty much just luck for me to try to line up a shot at those distances. So if you are not using the foregrip on the Famas, you are definitely doing something wrong. Overall, I'd have to say that while this was quite challenging, it actually was kind of fun. I mean, every once in a while I would get frustrated, but I was actually kind of surprised at how well I was performing on some of these matches. I definitely would not recommend this setup for anyone, but if you want to try something out a little bit different, then, go for it. But yeah, guys, that's about all I had to say for today's video. If you would like me to do this every once in a while where I try out your guys' crazy, ridiculous setups, let me know in the comment section below, or even let me know what loadout I should try next. I might do more of these types of videos. I'm not really sure. I'll kind of gauge on how well this video does. But if you guys enjoyed today's video or just want to show me some support, I always appreciate it when you give my videos a rating, and if you haven't already, subscribe for more. But until next time, guys, have a good one and take it easy.